All right, 2 days after the first win of the season, we're all feeling a little better. We're all feeling kind of good. For the first time since we beat the Eagles last year, we probably feel like the team is headed in the right direction and they're doing smart things, and we're seeing their good decisions manifest themselves into good things on the field. We're seeing the coaching staff give the team some kind of advantage, and it feels good. And there is an opportunity to maybe do a little something this year. The conference is not as good as I expected. The Vikings and Packers both don't look as good as I thought they would, although some of that might be because they beat the crap out of each other and had to play a whole extra quarter. The Saints defense is terrible. The Falcons have so many injuries on their defense. I don't think they're going to be much of anything this year. So some things might happen, and we could work our way, get to 9 wins. It might be enough. We don't know. So the short term doesn't look as bleak as I thought it would. Not because of necessarily what we're doing, it's mostly because of what other teams are doing. But this week in this video, I'm not really going to talk about the short term. We'll see. Right? I want to ask a long-term, large-scale macro question in this video, and it's the question I asked in the title of this video right above you. The question is quite simply, can the Seattle Seahawks have a good offense and Pete Carroll at the same time? Can we have it all? Can we have our cake and eat it too? Because I got the whiteboard out again. You know how I do it. I've seen the comments on my videos for the last year. Pete Carroll's got to go. Pete Carroll's going to retire in the next year or two. Pete Carroll is part of the problem. Pete Carroll is going to keep this team from reaching the desired heights. The game has passed him by. We need a regime change. I see all those comments. I agree with some of it. All of it is valid. It's all reasonable. Everything that these people say has a point. And it is very possible that in order for this team, particularly on offense, to get back up to the point where they are competing to win a Super Bowl, they might need to get a different head coach. It's possible, but the reason why this question is so important is if you guys liked what you saw out there the last 2 weeks on defense, you can if you want to say goodbye to Pete Carroll, then you're saying goodbye to a lot of that. I promise you. When we played the Bears 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever, my best friend is a Bears fan. I was telling him the day before that game, like, you guys are going to plaster us. You guys should not call any passing plays. Just run the ball 50 times with Jordan Howard and Cohen. Yeah, Jordan Howard and Cohen. And we are not going to be able to stop the run. We have backup linebackers. Our defensive line has one good player on it. And we have a couple good players in the secondary, but just run on us, and we are going to let you guys walk all over us. Okay? Just run the ball for 400 yards, get out of there with a win. Mitch Trubisky doesn't have to throw a pass. And I believed that. Maybe not that extreme, but I believed that we were going to go into Chicago and they were going to run the ball for like 250 yards on us. The Bears couldn't even run the ball at an average rate. This week against Dallas, we got guys like Trey Flowers out there who should not be playing cornerback in the NFL. We got a backup outside linebacker because KJ's still out. The only guy on the defensive line worth a crap is still Frank Clark. Everyone else is a part-time player, a rookie, somebody who should be a backup, somebody who shouldn't be playing. And they're producing. Okay, if you guys like that, that comes with the Pete Carroll package. I really believe that. There aren't very many people in the world who know more about defense in football than Pete Carroll. And if you're saying goodbye to Pete Carroll, you're saying goodbye to a lot of that. We have, especially this year, but even last year a little bit, we have a lot of players on this defense who are probably not good. And Pete Carroll is making them look much better than they are because of his schemes and his football knowledge that he has accumulated over decades and decades. If you say goodbye to Pete Carroll, Trey Flowers, who right now just looks like a below average starting corner that you can live with, would probably become a monstrous liability who gets burnt every other play. Austin Calitro would go from a serviceable linebacker to somebody who's probably out of position every other play. These guys on the defensive line, not that they're producing that much right now, but I don't want to see these guys without Pete Carroll. I don't think they have the talent to excel with another coach. I mean, especially the defensive backs, obviously. Bradley McDougald, anybody in the league could have had that dude at two different times. When we signed him and we re-signed him, other teams could have swooped in and grabbed him. Not one of them, to my knowledge, nobody was even looking at him. And through 3 games, he looks like an all-pro safety. If you say bye to Pete, you say bye to that. I can tell you that right now. It might turn, I mean, there are things about Pete Carroll on offense that he doesn't seem to fully grasp that hold this team back on offense. But defensively, I really think Pete Carroll might be the finger in the dike. He really might be the thing that is holding this defense up to where they are playing holding the Cowboys to 6 points until basically garbage time or pseudo garbage time. That is somehow keeping the Bears down to 17 points, even though our offense is not doing shit. He might be the finger in the dike. You take out that finger, it could turn into Madden, where we just are getting completely steamrolled on defense for, 35 points a game. Because I'll tell you, it's not Ken Norton Jr. We know that. Ken Norton Jr. is not the genius who is getting this defense playing at this level. We know that. We've had defensive coordinators cycle through Seattle for years and years and years. They all produce. At a certain point, we have to say Carroll has more to do with it than Chris Richard or Dan Quinn or Gus Bradley. It's him. Year after year after year, this defense plays at a high level, especially the defensive backs, guys. Bradley McDougald is a good example. Trey Flowers is a serviceable cornerback instead of a complete liability. Shaquille Griffin is a second-round pick, not a blue-chip talent, not a Jalen Ramsey, not a Patrick Peterson. He's 19 games into his NFL career, and he already looks like a quality number 1 cornerback. He might be headed towards like a Pro Bowl cornerback status by year 3. He's already like a quality number 1 cornerback in my eyes. You think we're getting that without Pete Carroll? There's no way. So I don't want to see this defense without Pete Carroll. I don't want to see really any defense that Seattle puts on the field without Pete. A lot of these guys, they're probably not very good at football, and Pete is really just holding back the flood. So can we keep Pete Carroll and have a good offense? I was thinking about this question last night, yesterday, Sunday night, because as much as I say that I wonder if Pete Carroll's time is coming to a close, I don't want that to happen. I think it's possible that he might walk away on his own because he's old. I think it's possible that we could have a bad season and they just decide, let's clean house. But I don't want to lose his defensive coaching skills because you can't find that stuff anywhere. He's developed his defensive mind over decades in the NFL. And while that has also given him some wrong conceptions about offense, like Pete Carroll probably believes that you have to run the ball to set up the play action. You do not. That is wrong, but Pete Carroll almost certainly believes it. He probably believes you have to run the ball to set up the pass. He probably believes that if you stop the run and you run the ball, you're going to have a really good team. All those things, they're not true. They're, at best, misleading, extremely misleading, but he probably believes a lot of those things. But I don't want to lose this defense. If we swapped out Pete Carroll for some decent offensive-minded head coach, I really think this defense would start giving up 30-plus a game. Even to these lackluster quarterbacks like Trubisky and Dak and etc. So Schottenheimer, because that's the guy right now. He might not be the guy next year. Because like I said, this question is about right now. It's also about the future. Can this team win with Pete Carroll and a good offense over the next 5 years? I bash Schottenheimer like nobody else. Everybody who watches my videos, especially my videos in the last couple weeks, knows that. I thought he did fine against Dallas, and it did give me a little bit of optimism that he can be fine. I mean, there's no universe where Schottenheimer becomes some genius offensive guru where he's just, out scheming everybody like Sean McVay or Sean Payton or anything like that. That's not happening. But there were three things he did against Dallas that I liked. Number one, he ran the ball a lot, which normally I don't like, but when Doug Baldwin is out, that's what you got. So we stuck to the run. We ran the ball a lot. Even though we weren't having overwhelming success, we stuck to it. I'm good with that. Number two, our offense was incorporating some misdirection and spacing concepts in the passing game. Like that two-play sequence where Chris Carson caught a screen pass on 3rd and 10 and picked up like 20 yards. And the next play, Jerron Brown caught the touchdown pass, that first touchdown of the game. That was a great sequence that showed some of the stuff that Schottenheimer can do that I might like. He was spacing out the defense. He was using misdirection stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that can get us somewhere in this current NFL. And the third thing was we left Will Dissly on the right side of the offensive line for a lot of plays to give Ifedi help against DeMarcus Lawrence. But those three things should be a given. Like, I should not be sitting here having to, profusely praise Schottenheimer for doing those things. Those things should be automatic. I should not be watching my TV on Sunday praying that we get things like that. That should be the minimum. So, I'm not going to sit here and take back everything I said about Schottenheimer. He's been mediocre to bad his entire career. Sometimes he's been abysmal. And every week when I sit down and watch this team, I'm going to think, like, is this the week where the wheels come off and he does something completely insane? But he did do well week 3. And I'll say one thing nice about him, one thing that I actually do think is worth something. This team is killing it in the red zone, which you cannot say about previous Seahawks teams. We are not kicking field goals. We are scoring touchdowns. So, Schottenheimer, maybe he can be serviceable. And that's really all I was hoping for this season. When we signed him, I was not happy. I was not thinking like, oh my God, we got such a great offensive coordinator. But I was thinking maybe he can be okay. Maybe he can at least help us move the ball in the first quarter. Maybe he can help us in the red zone. Maybe he can balance things out a little bit. I was like, okay, maybe he can do the basics. And on week 3 against Dallas on Sunday, he did the basics. So there's a little bit of an opportunity there for Schottenheimer to be okay, but that's it. So it's on the players. Can the players elevate this offense? Because the key is not to have an okay offense. If Schottenheimer is the one in control, our offense will be average to bad. Because he is an average to bad offensive coordinator. So the players. And the Russell Wilson stuff that we saw on Sunday, that's the stuff I'm talking about. This offensive line did not suddenly turn into the Great Wall of China. This offensive line did not suddenly morph into the 90s Dallas Cowboys offensive line. They played better, but we saw Wilson getting the ball out quick. There were 2 passes on touchdown drives in that game where he just got the ball and quickly snapped it out to Vanette for like 5 yards, 5 to 10 yards, picking up crucial first downs on both plays. There was the screen pass to Chris Carson where he read the blitz, realized Carson had nobody on him, and dumped it off on 3rd and 10, picked up like 19 yards. Even the touchdown to Lockett, he was snapping the ball out of there. The touchdown to Jerron Brown, just snapping the ball out of there. That's the kind of stuff we need. That's the way we need him to be. I mean, last night or 2 nights ago, I watched Tom Brady turned into a dude who didn't know how to get the ball out of his hands, and the Lions were sacking him on crucial third down plays. And it was the Patriots who couldn't score all of a sudden. So it can happen to anybody, but my point is that stuff is not about Schottenheimer. That stuff is not about our offensive scheme or offensive coordinator. That's on Wilson. And if he can keep that up, I think we can have a decent offense this year, better than average. The other point is the offensive line. We're going to get 2 starters back hopefully very soon. I know Justin Britt is expected to be back this week. And hopefully we get Posick back if Posick is actually playing better than Sweezy. Because honestly, it's probably pretty close. If we get that Russell Wilson going forward for the rest of this season and on into years going forward, and if we can actually start opening up some bigger running lanes with the offensive line full of starters, mostly Britt, also Posick, I think that this offense can overcome the limitations of Schottenheimer and Carroll, because, believe me, part of it is Carroll. Carroll hired Schottenheimer because I think part of him likes Schottenheimer, that kind of offense. He wants to keep things simple. He just wants to don't turn it over, punt the ball a lot, and my defense will win the game. That's what Carroll believes in, and right now it's not really working like that. Sorry. But that's what Pete Carroll believes in. He wants an offense that is going to play it safe, punt the ball a lot, let his defense control the game, and eventually break through and score enough to win a low-scoring game. That I think that's what Pete Carroll wants. So the players need to elevate it, because he's never going to hire some wizard, guru, incredible young mind offensive coordinator that just turns every game into a track meet or anything like that. You know, Pete Carroll doesn't listen to me. Pete Carroll doesn't listen to anybody else when it comes to football, because he's been in football for twice as long as I've been alive, I think. Close. I don't know. Close. So the players need to elevate it, and on Sunday, I saw the seeds of an offensive line. It seems like DJ Fluker was a bigger deal than I even thought, and I thought DJ Fluker was a big deal because they did look better with Fluker in there. And if Britt can come in and provide a nice little spark and make them even better, maybe Posick, maybe even they can cover up a Fetty's crap, because you can hide one bad offensive lineman if you're smart with your schemes and your play calls, or, you know, at least not stupid. I think that we might actually have something. And even Rashad Penny. People are worried about Penny. People probably expect me to be worried about Penny because he's not playing well, but I'm not. He missed the preseason. Let's give him some time. He missed out on his opportunity to really form a relationship with his offensive line. I'm going to give Penny some time. And I think Penny's a vision back. I didn't watch every game he played in college. My sense of Rashad Penny is that he's a vision back, meaning he needs the offensive line to open up holes to be effective. He's like Sean Alexander. And if you guys remember Sean Alexander, he was not going to outrun everybody. He was not going to run over everybody. He wasn't going to make everybody miss. He was just going to get the ball, wait, anticipate where the hole would be, anticipate where his blockers would be, and then he would go there, and then he would just burst through the hole and horse race. That was his skill. I think Rashad Penny might be the same thing. So, if the offensive line isn't opening up holes, and right now they're not, they did a little better against Dallas, but they need to do better than that. I think Penny's going to be effective as this year goes on. So, if Baldwin comes back and is able to play well, we'll have 2 running backs. We'll have a full complement of what looks to be decent receivers, because Lockett is playing as good as I hoped. I mean, Lockett looks like he's going to live up to that little contract extension we gave him. And we might have an offensive line. And the players can elevate this offense from below average, which is what Schottenheimer would have them at, to good, maybe even better than that. So I need to see these players play well enough to do that, because it's not going to come from the coaches. It's a bargain. It's a trade we're making. In order to have Pete Carroll's defensive genius, we put up with his offensive bullshit. We put up with him hiring a guy like Brian Schottenheimer. I know a lot of Seahawks fans out there think that, oh, Carroll must really regret hiring Schottenheimer. I don't think he does. I think he likes an offensive coordinator like that. I don't know if he'll be here next year, but I think Pete Carroll wants offensive coordinators like Brian Schottenheimer. So it's on the players. The players have to execute at a high level. And I'm looking at the personnel on this offense. I didn't think I was going to be able to say this season. I'm starting to see things fit together to where the players might be able to do that. All right, so we're going to find out. Because if after this season and probably next season, if I don't see these players elevating a simple, basic, boring offensive game plan to something really good, I might start to join the we need to get rid of Pete Carroll so we can compete for Super Bowls again crowd. But I don't want to do that. No Seahawks fan should want that. Mainly it's up to Wilson. Keep getting the ball out quick. Keep making good, sharp decisions. Once the offensive line is fully healthy, hopefully that'll get the running game going at a higher level than it did against Dallas, because we will need better going forward. And we're going to have to overcome some of the limitations of this coaching staff. All right. The only other thing that is Dion Jordan. He's a question mark for next week. I didn't really need to hear that. Our pass rush is already suspect enough as it is. Although some of these guys, Quentin Jefferson, I got to give them their props. They played really well on Sunday, and they're giving me a little bit of hope. But, yeah, PFF likes Dion Jordan, so I really want him out there, and I hope he's okay. But big question, guys. Post your thoughts below. I kind of gave what I think. Can the Seattle Seahawks have Pete Carroll and a good offense at the same time?